Hey fellow movie buffs! Welcome back to iconic film shot against the backdrop of New York City through the decades. In Part 3, we're exploring the dynamic era of the 1970s. Compared to the optimism of the 1960s, the 1970s brought darker, more complex themes reflecting societal turmoil and uncertainty. Filmmakers pushed boundaries, exploring taboo subjects, and pushing the limits of cinematic storytelling, reflecting the changing attitudes and sensibilities of the time. From gritty dramas to electrifying adventures, the films of this decade encapsulate the essence of New York City like never before. So, grab your snacks and join me as we explore the iconic movies that defined the Big Apple in the 1970s. 1970, The Out-of-Towners, directed by Arthur Hiller. Starring actors Jack Lemmon and Sandy Dennis, The Out-of-Towners is a film that follows the misadventures of a couple from Ohio who encounter a series of comedic mishaps during their trip to New York City. As they navigate the chaotic streets and eccentric characters of the city, hilarity ensues in this classic comedy of errors. The film showcases various iconic locations throughout the city, including bustling streets, crowded subways, and grand landmarks. As the main characters, played by Jack Lemmon and Sandy Dennis, navigate their way through the urban jungle, the city itself becomes a character in the film, providing a rich and dynamic backdrop for the comedic misadventures of the out-of-town couple. The Out-of-Towners was generally well received by audiences and critics upon its release. While The Out-of-Towners did not win any major awards, it received nominations and accolades from various organizations. Overall, the film remains a beloved classic in the comedy genre and has entertained audiences for decades with its humorous portrayal of the challenges of navigating New York City. I absolutely love this movie. Jack Lemmon's comedic timing is just spot on. Growing up in New York City, the era depicted in this film is exactly how I remember the city from my childhood. It's like taking a trip down memory lane every time I watch it. 1971, The French Connection, directed by William Friedkin. Starring actors Gene Hackman and Roy Scheider based on true events, this crime thriller follows two New York City detectives as they investigate a drug smuggling ring in New York City, featuring an intense car chase scenes through the city streets. The backdrop for The French Connection is primarily set in New York City, particularly in the gritty urban neighborhoods of Brooklyn and Queens. From iconic landmarks like the Brooklyn Bridge to nondescript warehouses and tenement buildings, the film immerses viewers in the harsh and unforgiving urban landscape of New York City. The French Connection received widespread acclaim from both audiences and critics upon its release. The film was praised for its gritty realism, intense action sequences, and groundbreaking car chase scene. The French Connection won 5 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Director for William Friedkin, Best Actor for Gene Hackman, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Film Editing. Overall, The French Connection is regarded as one of the greatest crime films of all time and remains a classic in the genre, earning a lasting place in cinema history. I was too young to catch this movie when it first hit theaters, but watching it in the late 1980s was a revelation. I could finally understand all the conversations my family had about it when it was released. The intensity of the film, coupled with the depiction of cars from that era, transported me right back to that unique time in New York City. 1972, The Godfather, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Starring actors Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, and James Caan, while primarily set in other locations, The Godfather features several key scenes filmed in New York City, particularly in Little Italy and at various landmarks like Radio City Music Hall. From bustling streets to lavish mansions and dimly lit back alleys, the film captures the rich tapestry of New York City's urban landscape. The city itself becomes a character in the film, providing a vivid backdrop for the epic saga of power, loyalty, and betrayal that unfolds within its streets. The Godfather received widespread critical acclaim and was embraced by audiences worldwide upon its release. The film is widely regarded as one of the greatest films in cinematic history. The Godfather won 3 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Actor for Marlon Brando, and Best Adapted Screenplay for Francis Ford Coppola and Mario Puzo. Additionally, the film received nominations in several other categories, including Best Director for Francis Ford Coppola and Best Supporting Actor for Al Pacino and James Caan. I missed out on experiencing this movie in theaters when I was younger, so I never got to witness the audience's reactions firsthand. However, catching it on TV in later years was a game changer. Even now, whenever I watch it, the impact is just as deep as it was the first time. 1973, Serpico, directed by Sidney Lumet. Starring actor Al Pacino, Serpico is a biographical crime film that tells the story of Frank Serpico, an honest New York City cop who exposes corruption within the police force. Based on a true story, the film follows Serpico as he battles against systemic corruption and faces immense personal risk in his quest for justice. The backdrop for Serpico is primarily set in New York City, particularly in the neighborhoods of Brooklyn and Manhattan. The film captures the gritty and urban atmosphere of the city during the 1970s, portraying its crowded streets, dilapidated buildings, and bustling police precincts. The city itself becomes a character in the film, providing a vivid backdrop for Serpico's journey as he battles against corruption and fights for justice within the police force. Serpico received critical acclaim and was well received by the public upon its release. Serpico received 2 Academy Award nominations, Best Actor for Al Pacino and Best Adapted Screenplay. I never had the chance to catch this in theaters when I was younger. Watching it on TV later when I was older, I realized just how important it was during its release, and how Al Pacino solidified his status as one of the most prolific actors of all time. 1974, Death Wish, directed by Michael Winner. Starring actor Charles Bronson, Death Wish follows the story of Paul Kersey, a New York City architect played by Charles Bronson, who turns into a vigilante after his wife is murdered and his daughter is sexually assaulted during a home invasion. The film is known for its gritty portrayal of urban crime and vigilantism, sparking controversy upon its release for its depiction of violence and its sympathetic portrayal of vigilantism. The backdrop for Death Wish is primarily set in New York City, particularly in the boroughs of Manhattan and Brooklyn. From seedy bars to abandoned alleyways, the film immerses viewers in the harsh realities of urban decay and lawlessness. The city itself becomes a character in the film, reflecting the social and economic challenges facing New York City during this tumultuous period. Death Wish received mixed reviews from critics upon its release, with some praising its gritty portrayal of urban crime and others criticizing its glorification of vigilantism. However, it was embraced by audiences and became a commercial success, spawning multiple sequels and influencing the action genre for years to come. Death Wish did not win any major awards. Even though I watched it on TV in the late 1980s, this movie left a lasting impact on me. Its themes resonated deeply, reflecting the pulse of New York City even during that time. It's no wonder it became a cult classic, its portrayal capturing the essence of the city in a way that stayed with viewers long after the credits rolled. 1975, The Prisoner of Second Avenue, directed by Melvin Frank. Starring actors Jack Lemmon and Anne Bancroft, The Prisoner of Second Avenue follows the story of a middle-aged couple living in a cramped New York City apartment. When the husband loses his job, their already stressful life becomes even more chaotic as they struggle to cope with the challenges of urban living. With humor and heart, the film explores themes of urban alienation, economic hardship, and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. The backdrop for The Prisoner of Second Avenue is primarily set in New York City, particularly in the neighborhood of Second Avenue on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. From cramped apartment buildings to busy city blocks, the film immerses viewers in the everyday struggles and triumphs of its characters as they navigate the challenges of life in the big city. The Prisoner of Second Avenue received mixed reviews from both critics and audiences upon its release. While some appreciated the film's exploration of urban life and the performances of its lead actors, others found fault with its portrayal of New York City and its handling of comedic elements. The Prisoner of Second Avenue did not win any major awards, but it received nominations for a Golden Globe Award for Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy. Jack Lemmon's performance in this movie always brings a smile to my face, even during the more serious moments. His comedic timing is impeccable, and I admire his ability to seamlessly transition between dramatic and comedic roles. Whether it's a heartfelt drama or a laugh-out-loud comedy, Lemmon's versatility shines through, making his films a joy to watch time and time again. 1976, Taxi Driver, directed by Martin Scorsese. Starring actor Robert De Niro, Taxi Driver follows the story of Travis Bickle, a mentally unstable Vietnam War veteran who works as a taxi driver in New York City. As he becomes increasingly disillusioned with the seedy underbelly of urban life, Travis descends into a spiral of violence and paranoia, ultimately leading to a dramatic confrontation. The film is renowned for its gritty portrayal of urban decay, social alienation, and the psychological effects of war. The backdrop for Taxi Driver is primarily set in New York City, particularly in the gritty and urban neighborhoods of Manhattan. From Times Square to the Lower East Side, the film immerses viewers in the harsh realities of urban life, offering a stark portrayal of crime, corruption, and social decay. Taxi Driver received widespread critical acclaim and was well received by the public upon its release. The film garnered praise for its gritty portrayal of urban life, powerful performances, and thought-provoking themes. Taxi Driver was nominated for 4 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Actor for Robert De Niro, Best Supporting Actress for Jodie Foster. While the film did not win any Oscars, it won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, and it has since been recognized as one of the greatest films of all time by critics and audiences alike. Intense is the perfect word to describe this movie. Robert De Niro's performance is nothing short of iconic, and he truly brings the film to life. After watching this movie, I never quite looked at yellow cabs the same way again. It's amazing how a single film can leave such a lasting impression. 1977, Annie Hall. Directed by Woody Allen. Starring actors Woody Allen and Diane Keaton, this romantic comedy follows the ups and downs of the relationship between a neurotic comedian and a quirky aspiring singer in New York City, featuring iconic scenes in Central Park and on the streets of Manhattan. From cozy cafes to bustling concert halls, Annie Hall immerses viewers in the rich tapestry of urban life, providing a vivid backdrop for the romantic and comedic escapades of its characters. Annie Hall was widely acclaimed by both critics and audiences upon its release. The film received praise for its innovative storytelling, sharp wit, and authentic portrayal of relationships. Annie Hall won 4 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Director for Woody Allen, Best Actress for Diane Keaton, and Best Original Screenplay for Woody Allen and Marshall Brickman. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, especially because I'm a fan of sarcastic comedy, much like the way Woody Allen portrays it in most of his films. His brand of humor resonates with me, and it's such a quintessential New York City thing. That's why I always find myself drawn to watching this film. It feels like a slice of the city captured on screen. 1977, Saturday Night Fever. Directed by John Badham. Starring actors John Travolta and Karen Lynn Gorney, Saturday Night Fever was set in the disco era of the late 1970s. This drama follows a young man from Brooklyn who finds escape from his troubles on the dance floor of a popular nightclub in New York City. The film captures the vibrant and pulsating energy of the disco era, showcasing iconic locations such as dance clubs, streets, and neighborhoods. From the neon-lit dance floors to the gritty urban landscapes, Saturday Night Fever immerses viewers in the electrifying atmosphere of late 1970s Brooklyn, providing a vivid backdrop for the story of Tony Manero and his quest for success and escape through dancing. Saturday Night Fever received positive reviews from both critics and audiences upon its release. The film became a cultural phenomenon and is widely regarded as one of the defining movies of the disco era. Saturday Night Fever was nominated for 1 Academy Award, Best Actor for John Travolta. While it did not win any Oscars, the film won several other awards and accolades, including a Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in a Motion Picture in a Musical or Comedy for John Travolta. I already adored John Travolta from his role in the TV show Welcome Back, Kotter, but when I saw him in this film, my crush on him reached a whole new level. As someone who was too young to experience the disco era firsthand, watching this film provided me with insight into the lifestyle of that time, which is such an integral part of New York City's history. 1978, Superman, directed by Richard Donner. Starring actors Christopher Reeve, Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, Margot Kidder, and Ned Beatty. Superman is a superhero film based on the DC Comics character of the same name. The film follows the story of Superman, also known as Clark Kent, who is sent to Earth from the dying planet Krypton as a baby and raised by a Kansas farmer and his wife. As he grows up, Clark discovers his superhuman abilities and uses them to protect the people of Earth from various threats, including the villainous Lex Luthor. With its groundbreaking special effects, epic storyline, and iconic performances, Superman became a cultural phenomenon and set the standard for future superhero films. Metropolis is depicted as a bustling metropolis reminiscent of New York City, with its towering skyscrapers, bustling streets, and iconic landmarks. From the bustling streets of Metropolis to the idyllic landscapes of Smallville, the backdrop of Superman captures the contrasting environments that shape the life of the legendary superhero. Superman was widely acclaimed by both audiences and critics upon its release. The film received praise for its groundbreaking special effects, epic storytelling, and memorable performances. Superman won a Special Achievement Academy Award for visual effects. It also received 3 Academy Award nominations for Best Film Editing, Best Music, Original Score, and Best Sound. While it did not win in the nominated categories, Superman was a commercial success and solidified its place as a classic of the superhero genre. The film's impact extended beyond its box office success, inspiring multiple sequels, spin-offs, and adaptations in various media. As a die-hard DC fan since my youth, watching Christopher Reeve embody Superman soaring through the skies left me breathless. My crush on him only deepened, and to this day I relish watching this film. To me, he is Superman forever, always. 1979, Kramer vs. Kramer, directed by Robert Benton. Starring actors Dustin Hoffman and Meryl Streep, Kramer vs. Kramer is a poignant drama that explores the complexities of marriage, parenthood, and divorce. The film tells the story of Ted Kramer, a workaholic advertising executive whose life is turned upside down when his wife, Joanna, abruptly leaves him, leaving Ted to raise their young son, Billy, on his own. As Ted navigates the challenges of single parenthood, he must also confront his own shortcomings and learn to balance his career with his responsibilities as a father. Kramer vs. Kramer is celebrated for its heartfelt portrayal of family dynamics and earned critical acclaim for its performances, direction, and emotional resonance. The backdrop for Kramer vs. Kramer is primarily set in New York City, particularly in the borough of Manhattan. From upscale apartments to crowded sidewalks, Kramer vs. Kramer immerses viewers in the diverse and dynamic landscape of New York City, providing a vivid backdrop for the intimate and emotionally charged story of the Kramer family's struggles and triumphs. Kramer vs. Kramer was highly acclaimed by both critics and audiences upon its release. Kramer vs. Kramer won 5 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Director for Robert Benton, Best Actor for Dustin Hoffman, Best Supporting Actress for Meryl Streep, and Best Adapted Screenplay for Robert Benton. Overall, Kramer vs. Kramer remains a beloved classic of American cinema, known for its sensitive portrayal of family dynamics and the complexities of love and loss. This movie resonated deeply with me because I was raised by a single mom. Seeing Dustin Hoffman navigate the challenges of balancing fatherhood and work struck a chord in my heart. Even now, watching this film brings tears to my eyes. It endeared me to Dustin Hoffman as an actor and instilled in me a newfound respect for all single parents, highlighting the strength and resilience they embody every day. The ice cream scene gets to me every single time. 1979, The Warriors, directed by Walter Hill. Starring actors Michael Beck, Dorsey Wright, and James Remar in this cult classic set in a dystopian version of New York City. Actors Michael Beck and James Remar lead a street gang from Coney Island as they battle through hostile territory to reclaim their turf after being wrongly accused of murder. The backdrop for The Warriors is the gritty and urban landscape of New York City, particularly focusing on the boroughs of Manhattan and Brooklyn. From dimly lit alleyways to bustling subway stations, The Warriors immerses viewers in the vibrant and dangerous world of street gangs and urban warfare. The Warriors received mixed reviews upon its release, but has since gained a cult following and is regarded as a classic of its genre. The Warriors did not win any major awards. However, it has achieved lasting popularity and critical acclaim for its stylized action sequences, unique visual style, and memorable characters. Despite initial controversy surrounding its depiction of violence and street gangs, The Warriors has endured as a cult favorite and has left a significant impact on popular culture. Even though I missed seeing this film in theaters, catching it on TV in the late 1980s was a memorable experience. Its themes and storylines still resonated deeply with the era I was living in, right here in New York City. For me, it's become a cult classic that I'll never forget. That haunting scene where the rival gang member teases the Warriors by singing, "Warriors, come out to play," while clicking beer bottles is etched in my memory. I still quote that line today, and fellow fans immediately know which movie I'm referring to. It's truly a cult classic that stands the test of time. If you've seen any of these movies, I'd love to hear which one was your favorite, or if there are any others you think I should include. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the iconic films of New York City in the 1970s. Don't forget to stay tuned for Part 4, where we'll dive into the dynamic era of the 1980s. I appreciate your support by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing to my channel, Timeless New York City. Your support means the world to me. Until next time, happy watching.